Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Tom. I'm a full-time eBay reseller and a stay-at-home dad for my 6 children. And if it appears that I'm wearing the same clothes as I was wearing on the last video, it's because I am. I didn't spill anything on this hoodie. And a hoodie to me is like a jacket. So like showered, changed the undershirt, but the hat and the jacket are the same. So it looks like I didn't change my clothes. Let's look at it. So I showed you 2 yesterday, and then I showed you the Mario while we were shopping, but it's included in this mess too. 14 for a total of $347.39. Things are picking up. I'm making huge dents in the death pile. I found this guy in the death pile. How cute is this little lion? And he says, "Hug me, 1979 Mattel." And then when you squish his butt, "Hi, I'm Bravely." Don't be afraid. I'm ferocious. Let's play jungle. Let's play jungle. And he roars. So, yeah, this is called a talk and hug, or a hug and talk, and they are immensely valuable. I listed this for $1.99 free shipping or best offer. One sold at auction in the box for $85 plus shipping. And then there's a Terapeak comp for $150, but it's so old that you can't see any pictures, so we don't know what. And they didn't use the hug and talk. They just called it Bravely the Lion. And then there's one listed for $2.99. And that's all the history I could find. That same person has it for $2.99, has it on Etsy for $1,250 or something. And then I found a couple of like Pinterest board pictures, but that's a pretty rare thing. I know that I had it in the death pile when we lived in Pekin, which we moved out of like almost 4 years ago. So that's been sitting around in the death pile forever, and it's worth having listed. So I found that in the death pile, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember this guy. And I couldn't figure out what it was because it's rare. It's not really marked super well, and every time I tried to research it, I didn't know what to call it. But then when I squeezed him and he said, "Hi, I'm Bravely," I didn't remember having heard that before. And I'm like, Bravely? Let me type in Bravely the Lion. And then the ball started rolling. So that was an exciting thing from the death pile. We got lots of sales to go over. Let's get to them super quick. I'd like to do them in order, but I'm kind of a mess at the moment. Okay, so in this bag, there are sockets that I bought in a big lot of sockets. Pittsburgh brand. Not a hugely desirable brand, but as you can see in the picture, it's kind of a set, and they're decent, and they didn't sell for much. $15 free shipping, which is a really good price for a set of American-made steel sockets if you need them. But it's not the kind of thing. It's not Craftsman. It's not Mac or Snap-on. It's not something somebody's going to be searching for necessarily. So it took a while to sell. Those might have been listed 6 months. I don't even remember. I guess if it's important, tell me right now in the comments whether it's important to you to know how long it was listed. Because I can look. October 19th, 2023. So they've been listed a lot longer than that. Because that was the day before Ruby was born. And I ended and sold the similar to a lot of things then. So without keeping track of that, it's a little bit hard to even know how long things have been listed. This has been listed for a day. Behind the Flying Saucers, the book everyone is talking about. These small scale books are like, this is a vintage like 70s paperback. And this is a World War II paper rations era pulp fiction book. And this is anything that's got girls in their pajamas like this. Like, it's not adult in nature, but it is a little naughty. This would be called GGA, Good Girl Art. Sometimes they have matte backs on them. A lot of these books have some value. The more horror or sci-fi the cover is, the more likely it is to be worth selling individually. That one sold in a day for $22.99. And I got that out of the Hoarder House in December of 2019, and it's been in the death pile. That is the main problem with the death pile, is these 10,000 books that I took and didn't have the capacity to process. And I learned that lesson. I probably won't overwhelm myself, but I paid $125 for all of it. And I got thousands and thousands of books, thousands and thousands of DVD or VHS tapes, thousands and thousands of other items. So it was definitely worth, and when I'm like having a hard time sourcing, I always have the death pile that I can go to because there's so much. But I'm down to probably my last 1,000 books. And some of them are going to be worth listing still, or at least listing in lots. But we're going to get that mess cleaned up. But that's the story on those books. I found a huge collection, and I don't find them very often otherwise. Mickey Mouse. This is a bed sheet. I had 3 bed sheets that I won off of Whatnot for not very much money. I haven't bought anything for Whatnot for at least 6 or 8 months, so they've been sitting around at least that long. And so I just, rather than trying to comp 80s bed sheets with Mickey Mouse and Sesame Street on them, I just priced them all at $12.99 plus shipping. And that one sold. It might be the rare, amazing, worth $100, but I sincerely doubt it, because Mickey Mouse bed sheets were ubiquitous in the 70s. As far as I'm aware, I was born in 82, so I don't know for sure, but I get the sense. Anyway, paid $1 for this. I was quite shocked. Coleman. I like dealing with Coleman lanterns. And then I saw this at the store, new old stock at the thrift store for $1. And I'm like, that's amazing. It's not made in the U.S. It's made in Mexico. So it's probably maybe even late 90s. Yeah. 05, 91. Early 90s. And then it has part numbers and stuff. I like dealing with old Coleman stuff. It's easy to deal with. There's a big market for it. So if you can find it cheap, it'll almost always sell. If this had anything on the glass, circles, lines, deer, anything on the glass that would make it more unique, it would be worth a lot more. As it stands, it was $25 free shipping, and I paid $1 for it. We sold another ring. I sold on a 5% off offer, and it's the last size 10 that I have available. $5.70 plus shipping. I send an offer every time I have. You can send an offer. So on something like that, where I'm like, that'll sell for full price, I'm only going to send a 5% offer, because 30 cents, like, sure, it'll sell at full price. But if it'll sell today, I'll take 30 cents less. These are cool, and they have been around. These have been listed for 4 years, which shocks me. And I ended up taking the listing down and putting it back up, taking new pictures, that kind of stuff. These are vintage Star Wars party favors. Cups. But they are episode 1, like mid-90s. New old stock. Invitations to your party. Noisemakers for your Star Wars party. And like, this is just the Millennium Falcon and an X-Wing. So this says 2001 on it. But if you took those out of the package, you could probably pass them off as 80s and nobody would question you. Not that I'm prone to do that kind of thing, but I bet if you took this out of the package with that X-Wing and this Millennium Falcon, and it just says Star Wars on it, it wouldn't be episode 1 associated, and you could get more money out of them. Literally, that just crossed my mind. I've had them listed forever as they are. Napkins, and then a smaller napkins. And I want to point something out to you in just a second. And then 2 tablecloths. And again, these are not necessarily episode 1 associated. I probably shouldn't have put episode 1 in the search title. Maybe they would have sold faster. Anyway, they sold for $22.80, which felt like a steal. Feel the force. My brother made a really good point about these, but I don't remember, or I don't see what it was he was laughing at now. Let me make sure I have everything. So I hadn't pulled it all out of the pile of things that sold yet. Party hats, more of the noisemakers. But then this, my brother is the kind of nerd who would be like, who would understand like immediately what's wrong with this. And I just totally didn't. This is Darth Maul. So in this movie with Darth Maul fighting Obi-Wan, Anakin is a child that's a big part of the deal of the movie. But then there's Darth Vader looming in the background when he is still a 7-year-old boy. So that's a weird image for a Star Wars aficionado, which I am not. Only one piece of equipment left that we picked up on the side of the road where a church had thrown out all kinds of electronics. We sold the TV on Facebook Marketplace. I sold most of the weird, like these Matrix HDMI switch splitter. I sold them. This sold for $25 free shipping, which feels pretty low for that. And it's not going to be a lot of fun to ship, but it was the last thing to sell. So it must not have been worth a whole bunch more than that. But we drove by a church that is literally like 4 or 5 houses down, doors down from our house. And they had 2 bookshelves, and the bookshelves were full of electronics, and we took almost all the electronics. There were a couple of things we didn't take because they didn't seem like they would be like, you know, just doing this, you know, like, oh, that radio, that clock radio, that's probably not going to be worth our time. But the things I didn't know what they were, I picked up, and almost all of it's sold. There's one more switch, but it's much smaller, like that, to sell. And I don't even know what the stuff is, but I plugged it in. I messed with it as much as I could, and it seemed to operate. And so I sold them and haven't had any complaints. This we picked up with the Legos. I talked about it yesterday. It has a Mario face. And it takes batteries and it interacts with your Legos and he falls asleep. And I picked it up in a bag for $5 that had all kinds of Mario Lego stuff in it. But that's the only piece I listed. I let the kids keep the rest of the stuff. That sold for $27 in 6 hours. They comped for $30 free shipping, so I just undercut the market a little bit and it sold real fast. Because to me, people don't like that I'm this way, but like my loyalty is to my store having a good sell-through rate and not to this is what the market value is, so I should defend and try to get the market value. My opinion, and I think everybody should live this way, I'm looking out for the things in my store to sell. And so I'm going to price it to be the next one to sell every time, because I'd rather it sell for $27 in a day than be one of all of the rest of them that are asking $30. I'm the lowest price, and I know that lends towards a race to the bottom. Except all of these things that I'm selling are one-off. I don't sell any multiple quantity items. So even if I'm a part of the race to the bottom, I'm never going to get to the bottom because I'm never going to find another one of those. Not likely. And if I do find it and everybody's been racing to the bottom on that thing, and I pick that up and I'm like, oh, comps are $6 now. It was $30 a year ago. Then I just don't buy it and I go find something more profitable. And if a race to the bottom is a problem, then the market wasn't supporting that item anyway. Like buyers are going to buy at $26. And then if they continue to sell at $27, it's going to the market is going to help that stay up. And if it doesn't, then the product sucked to start with. I get a lot of crap for being the bottom of the market with some frequency and doing free shipping a lot. And I think that having a loyalty to the market or the value of the item is I'm here to sustain my store, not to sustain the market value of a Mario Lego. Anyway, some of you will disagree. These are forks with a knife edge on one side or the other. So it's not a spork, it's a nork, like a knife fork. And these came in a high bid pile of things that I bought, and I didn't even realize that they were there. So they were just extras thrown in, and they sold for $12 free shipping. This one I feel kind of smart with. Let me put up the picture first. So this skillet, I paid $6 for this lot that included this skillet. Everything else got donated. I was buying this skillet. But with that huge handle on it, it's going to suck to ship. So picture 2 shows the spot where the handle goes. Picture 3 shows the handle inside and the screw and the cover, because this would suck to ship. This is going to suck less to ship. And they can put this handle on when they get it with a screwdriver in about 30 seconds. And then the handle's not going to break off, and the box isn't going to have to be twice as wide to accommodate this that comes off. So I felt kind of smart about that. I was able to sell it for $55.99 in about a week. I also did the same thing with the lid. So the little handle that goes on the lid is not on there. And so those parts aren't going to break off in transit because I didn't include them attached. I included them. You have to put them on. I don't see where my bobbleheads went. Okay, in the late 90s and the early 2000s, there was a really good hockey team called the Peoria Rivermen. And one of their best players was Trevor Baker. Now, the Rivermen are so terrible that they don't even play in the ECHL. They play in like the Southern Hockey League, and they aren't good anymore. And they're a not good team in a league that isn't as good. And so it kind of sucks. But in the late 90s and the early 2000s, Trevor Baker was like gonna be a superstar. I don't think that ever happened. I didn't follow him to know what happened. But he was kind of a stud locally. And those 2 bobbleheads I found at Goodwill for $1.84 a piece. They sold for $20 free shipping to somebody who lives across the river, who probably also is 40 and remembers Trevor Baker being cool when the Rivermen were worth messing with. Bought a huge box of silverware, and we kept a bunch of it because we have a bunch of mouths to feed. But then some of it was worth listing. These forks are not silver. They're Rogers. I have never used remains, something. There's a website where they sell replacement pieces for your forks and knives. And I managed to find what these were, Victory pattern, without using that website because so many people had them on eBay. And anyway, these 8 forks, and I paid $6 for the whole thing and capped a bunch of it, which was the purpose of buying it. But still, those sold for $16.15 free shipping. Found this at a yard sale where the VHS were 50 cents, I think, and I bought 2, and one of them ended up being a dud such that I threw it away. I think it had mold on the inside, and I forgot to check here. If there's white dots here, and it's not some really obscure thing that would be worth taking apart and cleaning up, then it's garbage. This, I comped while we were there, and it was like $25 or $30. Well, that was during the school year. That was right at the beginning of this school year. So like August. And I took a $25 offer on it. Ken Patera, I think is how you say that name. He was like the heel, the bad guy, professional wrestler. And then evidently there was some controversy surrounding him recently. And my buddy, who is a wrestling guy, was surprised that had any value, but it did. And there weren't a lot listed, and mine eventually sold in maybe 90 days for $25. Well, look, it was listed on November 3rd. Start time November 3rd. It must have been ended and sold similar. See, so like how long it's been listed. I need to get Flipwise from Justin Resells so I can tell you how long something's been listed. And now I gotta wait for my computer to reload. And then the only other thing was this, and it did not do as well as I hoped. Calvin Johnson Thermofit, Nike Thermofit, Calvin Johnson. I think I paid $12 for this, is why I'm like, it didn't do super well. I was kind of opposed to paying $12 for a used hoodie, and I waxed eloquently at the time about it, but the comps were good enough that I was like, yeah, I'd probably do okay. And I listed one, the only small that was listed, and then 2 more people had listed smalls since then. So that probably explains why it didn't sell for a while. And then I took a best offer for $27 free shipping. So it'll cost me $7. So then I'm into it if it cost me $7 to ship and I spent $12 on it, then I'm 19, and I'm really, after fees, I'm making like $4 or $5. And I'll put that up so you can see. So that was not a good investment to buy it for $12. The buy cost was the problem. And that's what I'm having trouble with my local Goodwill on clothes, is their basic t-shirts are $6 now, and they're anything with long sleeves is $7 or $8, and then anything that says Nike or Under Armour or has a tag is $11 to $14 for used shirts. So I'm sourcing other stuff there, but clothes at my local store is almost impossible. Is such that I bought this thing and sold it for $27, and I'm not really making much money. But that's it. That's the whole kit and the whole caboodle for today. 14 items for $347.39. I got to get it shipped. Thanks for watching. Thanks for liking, commenting, subscribing. Thanks for following and clicking the bell. We'll see you on the next one.